Hey guys, welcome to this video today. How you doing today? This is Mr. Myesis, and today I will be looking at solving quadratic equations by factoring. So we have about three or four ways to solve quadratic equations. One of them that we've seen so far is how to solve them by graphing. So I'll kind of quickly go over that again with you if you don't have me in class. Otherwise, today we're going to look at the most common type of way to solve a quadratic equation, and that's by factoring. So let's take a look at what I got up here. And a quadratic equation, just so you remember, is something with a degree of 2, and that it's a polynomial here, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a cannot be 0, okay? We don't want the a to be 0, because if it was and we wouldn't have a quadratic, we'd have a linear. So it has an x squared in it. Okay, so some examples are right there. What we're going to be using in order to do this is something called a zero product property. Basically, all it says is that if I have two things that are multiplied together and they equal 0, then one of those things has got to be 0, right? In order for two things to be equal to 0 multiplied together, one of them has to be equal to 0. So let's take a look at some problems, shall we? So just thinking about some of the things that you're going to do, here are the steps to solve by factoring. First, you always want to make sure that your equation is set equal to 0. We cannot solve, this is not called the phi product property, it's not called the x product property, it's called the zero product property. So your equation must be equal to 0 in order for you to solve it, okay? You need to factor it completely, set each of those factors equal to 0, that's how we're going to use the zero product property. And then we're going to solve for the variables for each of those, and then that's our answer, okay? We're probably going to have multiple answers, and we've seen that when we looked at the graphs. So if we take a look here at a graph, and we looked at some graphs the previous day, in my class anyway, and we noticed that when we have a parabola or a quadratic and it crosses the x-axis, similar to what I have up here, if it crosses the x-axis, those x-intercepts, that's where y equals 0, what the graph is equal to 0, right? So the equation, the function here, the quadratic function is equal to 0. That would be where it crossed the x-axis. Those are called the zeros, okay? Or the x-intercepts, right? So those are the same word, x-intercept 0, same word, or else not the same word, but it means the same thing, okay? Well, they're called synonyms, right? I'm getting all English on you. So what we would do here is we would take that and set it equal to 0. We would take our quadratic, set it equal to 0. We would factor, so x squared, sorry, I'm pulling up my socks here. X squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. We factor that into x minus 2x plus 4, or x minus 4. Set each of these factors equal to 0. Each of these factors equal to 0. This should be or, by the way, not an and. Just technically speaking, it should be or, because either of these two can work to solve this equation, right? They don't have to both be plugged in at the same time. So this is an or, okay? This is or, okay? X equals 2 or x equals 4, and we can write it in a solution set as 2, 4, or we can say x equals 2 and x equals 4. Either way, it depends on what your teacher wants you to do, right? In my class, you know, it doesn't matter which way you write it, but you want to make sure that you ask your teacher specifically, because if you're watching it from a different class and not my class, you know, that teacher may want it in solution set or another way. So make sure that you understand that these solutions are the zeros or the x-intercepts of our function, okay? And we saw that if you're in my class, we saw that the previous day when we did that stuff in class, okay? So this is kind of how we do it algebraically instead of in the calculator. All right, so let's take a look at some examples here where we'd use factoring quadratic functions, factoring quadratics in order to solve them, okay? So let's create an equation here. The homeowner here is pouring a cement flab, has cement flab. That must be a big homeowner. A cement slab for a new shed that will store his family's 5 bikes. The length of the slab is 8 feet. Okay, this is going to be a rectangular slab. The length is 8 feet less than 3 times the width. Okay, so the length is 8 feet less than 3 times the width. Now the area, remember the area is the length. This is the length here. The length times the width. So my area is length times width. Or in this case, I have width times length. Okay, so I'm going to have 3w squared minus 8w. I'm going to multiply this and distribute it. Okay. All right, so now what are we going to do? Well, we're going to, if the area of the slab will be 60 square feet, so I know that the area is 60 square feet, so I'm going to write it over here because I might be in the picture here. 60 square feet is equal to 3w squared minus 8w. So now, remember that the first, so this is that's my equation, right? So I set up my equation. I define my variable w to be the width. Now, what's going to happen here is that we need to set it equal to 0. Okay, so we're going to subtract 60 from both sides. And we're going to get 3w squared minus 8w minus 60 equals 0. All right, so then we're going to factor that. Okay, so then we get 3w plus 10 and w minus 6. Okay, so if we FOIL that out, we're going to get 3w squared minus 8w minus 60. So then we're going to take each of these and set it equal to 0. Okay, this is equal to 0, or this is equal to 0. We're going to solve for w. So I'm going to subtract 10 and then divide by 3. So w is 10 over 3 negative. And here I'm going to add 6, so w equals 6. Now, our width can't be negative, so this doesn't work. All right, this is called, if something doesn't work because it's, in this case it's negative here for this word problem, all right, we call it extraneous, which you don't really need to know right now, but I'll tell you later when we get to some things like that, okay? So our answer is w equals 6 feet. Okay, that's our width. Now it says find the dimensions. So if the width is 6 feet, we're going to plug 6 feet in here, and we're going to get 3 times 6 minus 8, which is 24 minus 8. Which is, oh wait, not 24, it's 18 minus 8, which is 10. So our length is 10 feet and our width is 6 feet, right? All right, let's take a look at another one here. And I'll go and let you, this is the same thing, okay? A photograph is 8 centimeters wide and 12 centimeters long. The photograph is enlarged by increasing the length and the width by an equal amount in order to double its area. Okay, so the area, okay, so we're taking this, and we've got 8 by 12. Okay, the area is going to be 96, because we multiply 8 times 12 of our new one, right? Big guy. So we have 8x and 12x. I don't know. I'm going to multiply each one by the same amount. I just don't know how much it is. So that's what x is. So 8x times 12x is going to be equal to 96. And then I would solve that, okay? And it looks like it's equal to 1. Oh, double. We want to double that. Sorry, we're going to multiply this by 2. This is the area of this one, okay? So we got to double the area, sorry, so we have to multiply that by 2, right? Because this has to be 2 times 96, which is this area here. All right? Okay, I'll get back to that. We'll finish that in class. So if you want to finish that, we'll finish that in class. Let's take a look at solve each equation by factoring. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take and add 8x to both sides. Okay, this is the easy part, guys. Those word problems are a little trickier because you got to get that, the formula set, and then you can factor. But these are just simple factoring ones. Okay, so we're going to factor this out, and there's a common factor of 2x. So we're going to have 3x plus 4. Now I said earlier, you have to take each one and set it equal to 0. That's the zero product property, okay? So 2x equals 0, or 3x plus 4 equals 0. And then we're going to solve each of those separately. So divide by 2 and we get x equals 0. Subtract 4. then divide by 3, and we get x equals negative 4/3. Okay, so we got two answers there. X equals 0 or x equals negative 4/3. Let's take a look at another one. All right, so what are we going to do here first? Subtract 13x. Good, so 4x squared minus 13x minus 12 equals 0. Remember, we want it all equal to 0. It's the zero product property. Okay, then we're going to factor. So we're going to get, all right, what I got here is I factored it out. I used my x and grouping method here, and so I've got 4x plus 3, x minus 4 equals to 0. So I'm going to take 4x plus 3, set it equal to 0, or x minus 4 equal to 0, and I'm going to get x equals negative 3/4 after I subtract 3 and then divide by 4, or x equals 4 because I'm going to add 4 to both sides, and I'm going to get x equals 4. All right? Okay. I got a couple of practice ones for you, so try this one out and practice it. Okay, here's the solution. So 3x squared minus 21x equals 0. We're going to factor out a 3x from that and get x minus 7 equals 0. So 3x equals 0, or x minus 7 equals 0. X equals 7, x equals 0. Those are our answers. That's all there is to it, folks. You just factor, set them equal to 0, but you got to make sure that the whole thing is equal to 0 before you factor. All right, here's another problem. So here we go. We're going to take 2x squared, subtract 11x, plus 15, set it equal to 0. And then we're going to factor that. So we're going to get 2x. And I'm going to factor this just out of my head here. We're going to have 5 and 3. Let's go this way like this, okay? And this is going to be minus and minus because when I FOIL it out, it's going to end up with 11. So then I'm going to take each of these and set them equal to 0 separately. And then I'm going to solve for x for each of them. Okay, so add 5 and then divide by 2 and we get 5 halves. Tell you, this 5 thing just doesn't work for me on this pad here. And x equals 3. Here are answers. There you go. All done. Solving quadratics by factoring. Bye-bye.